Hello everyone, welcome. This is Jean from the Inky Studio, and today we are in part 4 of putting together the How I Alter a Vintage Book. And I will put down a playlist down below to show you where you can find parts 1 through 3 at. So we're ready now to sew the signatures in, and what I've done ahead of time is I've glued a little bit of cheesecloth here at the top and bottom. You want to make sure it's dry before you start putting in your spine, and it kind of adds to that little raggedy look a little bit. It's just some little bit of interest. And I'm making a hollow back or like a floating spine so that you will not see any stitching here on the back of it, and you will need to cut a piece out of a piece of cardstock, and you want it to not go above usually your paper that's covering the insides of the cover. I'm going to leave a little bit of the actual book peeking out through so that you don't really see the spine. And then I cut a piece of cloth, and this is a piece of linen that came from a vintage table covering, I guess. And I love linen because it leaves this beautiful frayed, nice frayed edges on it. Really like that. Now muslin will do the same thing, but I think that these threads are a little thicker and they just show up a little bit better. So I hand torn this piece that it reaches from the very top to the very bottom of the book, because I do want some of that to peek out. And I made it about 3/4 of an inch wider than my cardstock spine. You may want to go to an inch if you can even go to an inch or even more. But the idea of the hollow back is that once your signatures are sewn in, you're going to glue just the cloth to the two covers. And so that's the idea behind a hollow back. Now, I'm doing something a little different than I normally do, and that is I want the papers to peek out here on all three sides. I'm kind of going for a little messy book, and I'm going for an idea that, as you collected papers and stuff about your journal, you were just stuffing them in there, sort of like you would a file folder a little bit. So that's what I want to maintain while I sew in the signatures. Now the challenge is I don't want to sew the signatures in such a way that you can't see the bottom. You can't see the bottom ragginess, or you can't see the top. I want it to be in a very precise way, because I want these different colors to peek out. I want you to be able to see that red, a little bit of that green, and therefore I have to find out exactly how I want that. And the way that I'm going to resolve that problem is I first found the very middle of the cover itself. This is the very, very middle, between here and between there. It's right there. And so once I have located how I want these papers to sit in here, I'm going to come over and I'm going to lightly mark with my pencil where that middle is. All right, so that would be the most important place for your measurement. Now all the other holes, really could almost do it by eye. They're not going to matter a whole lot because you're not going to really see it on the other side, but you will want to know that middle so that you have your papers aligned the way you like them. So once I've done that, and of course I have clipped them, and when you clip them, you want to be sure that you have all the papers. You have the back paper and the front paper all inside the clip. Otherwise, one will fly away. And so I've got those done there. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to punch a hole with my awl into that place that I marked in the back. Just like so. There we go. So that is the only hole that I have to be super concerned about, because that is the hole. I'm going to do it from this side as well. There we go. Because that's the hole that needs to be in this area here. Now I'm going to lay down this guy here and going to mark the middle area with this so that I can match it up with that. Let's see, do I like that? Yep. And so those are the holes that you're going to be concerned about. I'm going to go ahead and put in the other holes inside of here, and I'm going to kind of eye it up and make sure I got it set with my middle. And I want to make sure that when I put this hole in, I don't go above, I don't want to go up here above the book. I'm going to make sure I stay down below the book a little bit, and that I got my papers in as well. So I'm going to put this one here, and then this one. So I'm aiming for like 3/4 of an inch from the edge. That's what I'm aiming for, in that vicinity. And so now I have these two holes in. And now I'm simply going to eye up between here and there, right about that. And between here and here, right about there. And like I say, eyeing it up is just fine. So now these are the holes that I'm going to follow when I sew it in. Now to prepare the spine, I need to glue this onto the back of my cloth. So I will just do that quickly. And I'm using glitter glue. If you use something like Fabri-Tac, you want to be careful to take the card and kind of like smear it out so that it doesn't glob too much. You can't really see it come through too much on the cloth. And I'm going to place this. Going to mark where I'm going to sew the signatures in. So this is a 1/2 inch, or excuse me, this is 1 inch wide, and I have 2 signatures, so I'm going to come in 1/4 of an inch on each side, and that will be about even. So I'm going to put one here and one here, and 1/4 of an inch on this side and one on this side. So I'm going to draw a line, a pretty strong line, so I can see it. You're not going to see it on the other side, but it will be helpful to see it when you sew. Okay. All right. So that is done, and I'm going to then put my signatures in right along here. Now there's going to be a good gap between the signatures, which is great because I do plan to fill these, pages and everything, and if they were too tight, it would be hard to put in a whole bunch of pockets and stuff. So there will be about that much. And if that's too much, then you can also make that a little bit more narrow, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. Anyway, so that's how that will set in. It will set in this way. And now we're going to go ahead and sew in the signature. And I'm going to put a hole. Let's see, my first hole, get my pencil here, is going to be lined up with that middle hole here. So let me just get that lined up. So here is where I'm going to be putting a hole. I will put these two together so that I can make sure I get the other holes marked out just like that. And the other holes up here. So I'm just going to match this particular signature with this line. And so the next signature will have to be done separately too, because the markings won't be exactly like this. They'll be a little different. especially if you eyed it up. So there you go. There's the holes all done. Now I'm just simply going to, and my rule of thumb is I go 3 times the length of my spine, and that usually gives me quite a bit left over for, whoops, gotta make sure I put it this way. Yep. Okay. Yep, I had to turn it over because I want the cloth to be showing. And I'll just start it out. Now this is actually, I think, an easy way to make a spine because there's less, I think there's less fiddling, but that's just me. Everybody has their favorite ways. So I will just go ahead and finish putting this in. Okay, that's it. I let that sit overnight with the two things on each side to make the pages stand up. And now it's all in and ready. The nice thing about a hollow back is that it does allow the pages to lay down a little bit easier than when they are attached right to directly to the spine. So that is that. I have added the cover and I have more to add on the cover. I do want to put this on, but still working with what else. And starting to fill in some of the ephemera and such. So the next one should be the flip through. So thank you so much for reviewing. I appreciate you coming along with me and keeping me company. And I hope you have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Bye.